Aloha and welcome to this video. I'm going to talk about the June 28th, 2022 new moon. And the reason why I like talking about these moons is because the more that we are able to be aware of the energy that they bring, the more that we can navigate what's going on in our lives and in the lives of those around us, and also for society as a whole. So this particular new moon is basically you're going to want to nurture yourself and your family and make sure that you're not really being too sensitive. This energy, the extreme of the nurturing or the water energy, can actually turn into a little bit more sensitivity. And so it's okay to feel sensitive during this time or to feel emotional during this time. And really what you want to do is just nurture and take care of what your needs are and the needs of your family. The idea here is there may be a level of carefulness or a focus on safety and security, just what it is that you do to ensure that everything is taken care of. It's okay to pamper yourself. It's okay to take time to be with family. This new moon, along with Jupiter, brings a desire to take action on something new. And as a result of that, it involves some changes that you may or may not be aware of, or that you necessarily are prepared to take. And if you've been following the moon videos from the earlier part of this year, you probably are prepared because it's going to fall right in with what we've talked about over the last 6 months. So just be careful not to go too far with any of those changes that are necessary. This because Jupiter rules Sag, this could also be a combination of energy around beliefs and ethics and morals, especially societal, being challenged. So that's something to take into account. There are other energies present with this new moon. That's because of the other planets and what those energies are doing. That's what makes basically even the same new moon. So even the new moon in June of last year is going to be different than the new moon in June of this year. The core basis of the moon would be the same, but then based on what the other planets are doing is going to add another flavor to what the energy is asking for. So with this new moon, we have Mercury trining Saturn. There's a good digging into detail, communicating in tangible ways. What are practical, tangible things that we can do? What are the things that we can actually bring into Earth, into physical manifestation? Mercury sextile Chiron. The words that we use can metaphorically heal us, comfort us. We want to be mindful that the words that we use carry power, carry a weight, and that we want to choose words that are empowering to us, because just as much as those words can metaphorically heal and comfort, they can also bring up things that might not be the easiest to navigate. And even then, on the other side of that can be comfort. So the idea here of making sure that what you're saying to yourself, what you're saying to others is empowering, is supportive, is nurturing, is caring. Mercury squared Neptune. Are you perceiving things to being too idealistic or even unrealistic? Neptune can be a bit foggy, but it can also bring the ultimate ideal, the ultimate thing that you want. And so with this combination of energy here is the things that you're saying to yourself, the way that you're communicating, the ideas that you have. Are you seeing everything? Because Neptune can also be the fog, okay? And so Mercury square Neptune is are you getting the whole set of information? Because the information could be, you could actually only be seeing a portion. And if that portion of information is what's driving your response, you might want to check for additional information as well and actually dig into that. Even when it feels like you might have all the information, because again, Neptune can be foggy and it may seem like that all there is what you have. Just like a normal fog, if you're driving, and you're driving through fog, the fog appears like you can only see so far ahead, yet there's more road, there's more space, there's more things to discover. And so it would be important to take your time going through those ideas and communication as you navigate the fog. Mars sextile Saturn can bring a level of discipline for a set of patience and courage to take the step forward. So it's actually it's a positive aspect, and it's really just saying for those ideas, for those things that you then want to begin to create tangible results with. How do you develop that patience with your ideas, and the steps that you take. So you don't want to be necessarily too spontaneous here or too erratic. You want to be much more grounded, and much more thought through, methodical, patient, understanding. Even when it feels, see, Saturn can also feel restrictive, and Mars is action, and so the combination of the two can feel like your action is restricted, and yet that's not what it's really saying here. It's saying how do we take new action and do something with it, creating something anew, because you're blending in the new moon with it. Mars square Pluto on July 3rd, exact, but it's building up actually. Make sure that you use that Mars Saturn we just talked about a bit more effectively, because this Mars Pluto square can bring a level of impulsivity. Mars and Pluto together, especially when they're conjunct, when they're next to each other, is the warrior. And so Mars Pluto square creates this challenge, this possible level of impulsivity, and so you have to manage the risks. And so if you address the Mars Saturn sextile, if you have that discipline, and if you're aware of things aren't just actually being restrictive, things are creating new structures. They're providing a new level of courage for you to take the next steps and to have that faith. Then this Mars square Pluto is actually going to help you to transform and to make those next set of steps, because Pluto is fantastic for transformation, but at a very high level of transformation. Now, remember that while things, because there's some Jupiter plays in here, and Mars and whatnot, and Pluto is much more bigger picture. While things Jupiter and Saturn are pretty much involved, and those are societal planets. The idea here then, especially with the Neptune, Pluto, which are higher consciousness planets, right? I would suggest that while things may appear like they're outside of our control, or the things going on around us may actually be outside of our control, how we react and respond to those things is completely up to us, right? Because in this new moon, we have the personal planets, right? Especially Mercury and Mars. We have the societal planets, Jupiter and Saturn. We have some of the outer planets, the higher consciousness planets, Neptune and Pluto, all making significant aspects during this time. And so we really, it's as if society is being asked to elevate to a higher level of consciousness. And so we have to be conscious of how it is we're reacting and responding to things. Venus is sextile Jupiter, which is uplifting and optimistic, can be great for finances, can potentially be great for relationships. Just with Jupiter involved, be careful not to overindulge. Just allow Jupiter to help you elevate whatever it is you're doing, especially in finances or relationships, because Jupiter actually helps to raise things up. Whereas Saturn brings things into the physical, Jupiter helps reconnect to spirit and greater purposes and that kind of thing like that. Saturn's at the bending of the nodes, meaning it squares the south node and north node. I'm bringing a lot more astrology into this particular moon video because I think it's important to become familiar with. This particular combination with Saturn at the bendings is reviewing our responsibilities and structures from the past into the future. I mean, with the I'm a big fan of the nodes and in the astrology method that I use. Right, the nodes right now are going from south node to Scorpio, north node Taurus, and so that's asking to transform in order to create new structure, and then the new structure helps you transform some more. And so literally, with Saturn at the bendings, that's our responsibility. Saturn's also structure. So you got Taurus, north node with the tangible aspects of things, and the whole nodal path saying, hey, you know what? We're in an 18-month period of significant transformation. Then you put Saturn at the middle of that, and what type of transformation is it's like, where is it really? It's saying our responsibilities and even our structures some more. And to some degree, that Taurus North Node is saying we need to be able to build new structures and create tangible things that that allow us to actually elevate the level of transformation that we're having. And you want to be careful not to, not to sting yourself with that scorpion's tail as we create those new structures. So, this is a very interesting combination, because even if, in other systems of astrology, you still have Saturn at the bending in the nodes, and so Saturn is still saying there's a desire, a focus on responsibility and structure for the past to the future. I just add in the fact that we're being asked to transform. We're being asked to, effectively build new things. And so, interestingly enough, with that is Uranus is also involved during this moon, which Uranus is, it's considered the great awakener, because it can be very surprising and create unexpected shifts. And so it's important to go with the flow. Usually if things are being restricted, and Uranus comes along, Uranus can kind of really make that there's a level of that restriction kind of just doesn't hold. And so the more you resist the Uranian awakening, or the Uranian release of whatever it is you're holding on to, it will eventually just get there. It's just a matter of, if you're resisting it, Uranus is almost always going to win on those. So it's a very interesting when you got Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all in play here. You got Jupiter and Saturn in play, right? You got Mercury, Venus, and Mars in play. Of course, it's a new moon, so you got Sun and Moon in play. You got the whole solar system. So I mean, this is a very significant new moon. On July 4th to August 20th, the pace of life, may feel slowed down, but it'll be pretty consistent. It's just it could be a great time for projects that require patience and a focus on the long term. And so if you're continuing along with what we've talked about over the last 6 months, that's a great window of opportunity there. Also, for about 2 weeks from July 4th to July 19th, remember to be objective in your observations and the things that you notice, just because it's an energy where objectivity is actually going to be a desire to want to help us elevate what it is that we're noticing during that time, right? We don't want to get lost in things. We want to be able to have a way to be conscious of what it is that we're navigating. So the whole solar system has significant play with this particular new moon. The new moon can be, while this new moon is focused on nurturing and safety, security, and can bring about a level of emotional sensitivity, and yet normally in these types of moons, they're just kind of emotional, watery moons. This one actually has a level of potential volatility to it, just given the Mars-Pluto square and some other plays with the energies we talked about, with other Mars and Uranian plays. So, I mean, it's not as much of a watery moon as you might think, or as the one last year could have been. So July, August brings about more changes. Those can be societal changes, and yet there's going to be some sort of requirement to change as an individual, because as individuals, obviously we're connected into society. And so just remember that you do have a choice for how you respond to things. Focus on the positive. Have faith. Recognize that the neat thing about the recognition of these planets is whatever's occurring here on Earth, I mean, there's an energy correspondence in the solar system, and therefore, it's as if it's already timed and already planned, right? So we have Sun Moon with a new moon. We got, Mercury in the way that we need to communicate here. We got Venus, dealing with financial and relationship benefits. We have Jupiter and Saturn, as we've talked about, and then Uranus, as I said, is the great awakener. Neptune's the great dissolver, right? And so taking that into mind, with what we talked about with some of the Neptunian fog that could be present, or the ideals, it's also helping us to be free of the things that we need to be free of. Uranus is loosening it up, Neptune's helping dissolve it, and then Pluto's the great transformer. And so, with what Pluto's doing is prompting a level of transformation. Tie that in with the nodal path, some of the other energies. There's a large amount of transformation occurring, both societally and then as an individual. Mainly as an individual, paying attention to your response to things, your emotions, and the things that you need from a nurturing, caring perspective, and responsibilities and structure. Things that we may have gotten familiar with in the past that may be breaking up and coming to a new beginning. That's what this new moon is, right? So this is actually a rather significant new moon. This particular new moon on the surface, doesn't seem like it, like on the surface without digging into it, wouldn't seem like it would pack this much of a punch. But it does come with a level of desire to help elevate the individual, the society, and the planet. Okay. And it is with that Neptune fog, you may not see how it's beneficial. Okay. But you have to, that's where having focus on the positive, choosing how you respond, and having faith is really going to come into play. Neptune's also very intuitive of a planet. And it often requires that faith and that trust in what's occurring. Okay. Because you can't see something ahead physically, just like you can't see when you're driving through a fog, right? A literal fog. You have faith that there's road on the other side of the fog, and you just gradually, carefully, drive your way through it. Okay. It's the same thing here. Okay. So the thing is to recognize if there's a fog there, or not. Because some people might just say, well, I'm just seeing what's in front of me. You might, but are you seeing the whole thing, right? Because even with, even with some of the other combinations and aspects that we talked about, are you getting all of the information? Are you paying attention? That's why your response, choose the response that you would want to look back on and say that you did your best. Okay, choose the response that you would be pono, the Hawaiian word pono, to be right, that you would feel right with you, not right as in right or wrong, right as in a level of just you're totally congruent and you're just it's just pono. There's no translation. So you really want to think those things through and choose those responses, because when the Neptunian fog lifts and the transformation occurs and society is elevated, you'll be able to look back on that moment and recognize what occurred. Okay. So because we're looking at the planets, we know there is a higher expression here. There is something that as a society we are moving towards. Okay. And for the better, towards the light, for the better, right? Like they're, to help us grow and evolve as a society, as individuals. Okay. And so have that level of faith and choose your responses consciously, and just, choose the positive, and to be pono. And yeah. So that's pretty much this one. This one is a little bit longer of a video because there's a lot here. Every planet has a significant tie during this new moon, which, this is going to be an interesting one. So, all right. With that, aloha, hui ho. I'll talk with you again soon. If you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, aloha, hui ho. I'll talk with you again soon. Take care now.